I nearly lost my lips trying to kiss this beautiful new router table, and how sausage saved me a bundle this week on Blue Collar Woodworking. Before we talk about what's going on this week at the Stumpy Nubs workshop, I need to answer a few of our more persistent viewers' emails. First of all, Brian821, I prefer walnut because I like the smell, but maple will leave a pretty good welt too. Super Woodworker NY, no, I think you have me confused with someone else. Jesus Tri Superstar, I love enchiladas, but they give me gas, so no thanks. Charles Mason, same to you. Elmer Glue Sniffer 264, yes, yes, no. Red Oak, yes, no. Try urinating on it, yes, and I'm going to give you a maybe. Now, where were we? Oh yeah, we've been working on router tables. In fact, this is the third and final part of our 3-episode series about router tables and the 2 models that I've been making, which I think are pretty sweet. All that's left to do is the special fence setup that we're going to make. So, without further ado, it's true. I want what everybody else wants: family, friendship, love, and a router table fence that operates smoothly and accurately. I'm tired of these expensive fences that you have to wiggle and bump to get set just right. And even if you do nudge it into just the right setting, you have a terrible time getting back to that precise setting if you have to move it and come back later. So, the solution hit me a while ago when I showed you that Incra gauge a few episodes ago. It has those perfectly interlocking teeth that are spaced every 32nd of an inch. What that does is create a positive stop everywhere you could ever want one. For example, let's say you want to set the fence like 4 1/4 inches from the bit. Nobody's eyes are good enough to get it exactly dead on every time. One time you may be a few thousandths under, the next time a few thousandths over. You may not pick it up with your eyes, but those kind of tiny errors add up over the course of a project, especially things like finger joints and other types of joinery. This thing, though, autocorrects itself. If you set it a little bit off, it will automatically adjust the teeth when it meshes together when you lock it down. You can't miss the mark. Even if you move it away and then try to get it back to the exact spot later on, it's going to be the same every time. I can't tell you how indispensable that feature is. And up until now, people have been forced to buy the expensive Incra LS system in order to get that kind of repeatability and accuracy. Believe me, people have asked, can we design one? And we just can't. Even if I could machine perfectly even teeth every 32nd of an inch out of wood or something like that, the patent police would kick down my door and throw Randy in cuffs after I blamed him for the entire incident. Because Incra owns that design. And if George Washington has taught us anything, it's that wooden teeth never work out. But I have found the most American of solutions to the problem: a loophole. That gauge I showed you a while back, it already has the teeth in it, and Incra made it, so we're not copying their teeth. We can take that $18 gauge and build a router fence around it and try to achieve at least a large measure of the accuracy that comes from their more expensive systems. I'm going to get working on it. Will you check this out? Some people say that I have a magnetic personality. Then those people get their paychecks and go home and say all kinds of other stuff about me. And then I'm left here by myself in the workshop trying to figure out ways to get better organized and therefore more efficient. And one of the things that I found very useful are these little magnetic strips. You can find them all over the place. Harbor Freight sells them on sale once in a while for like $5. Other places have them for a little bit more. regardless of how much they cost, they're well worth the investment because these things are amazingly versatile. I have them all over the shop. You can hang chisels on them. I have one for drill bits. These are some of my auger bits. I have one behind the drill press with paddle bits. They're great for that. Mrs. Stumpy hangs knives on them. Old man Rabishaw next door's got them all over the outside of his house to counteract the cosmic rays that he's always worrying about. It's one of those things that if you see them on sale, you should get at least half a dozen because you're going to wish you had another one laying around after you find all kinds of uses. And for that, these are one of my favorite things. Every day, my cat eats a ton of food and then throws it up. I swear, if she continues to do that, she's going to look amazing. What do you get when you cross a chicken with some wood scraps, some glue, and a modified Incra jig? Well, how about the best stinking router fence in the world? And a fried egg sandwich. What else do you think the chicken was for? This is what we did. We took that Incra jig and we cut the ends off so that we could lay them flat next to a drawer slide. That way we have a smooth tracking mechanism, we have our interlocking teeth, and we have a way to lock it down with the T-track. You put that all together, you add some adjustable faces, 4-inch dust collection on the top, some feather boards for the safety freaks out there, and you've got the best router fence that I've made this episode. Here's how it works. With your fence set in the forwardmost position, which will mean that your cursor is on 0, you use a ruler and zero your fence out to the bit. You can do that by sliding in the whole unit back and forth, and when you get there, you lock it down. Now, every time you come back to 0 on your cursor, it's always going to be flush with the bit on the front. You can then adjust side to side the opening. Of course, your dust collection hose would go here and it will pull dust through this opening. And you're ready to start routing. By loosening the clamping mechanism to whatever setting you want from that bit. It's very accurate because when you get there and you turn the nut to clamp it down, those fingers autocorrect like we were talking about, and it's dead on every time. Because we use the drawer slide on the back, underneath, it moves perpendicular to the bit, nice and smooth, and stays in line for every cut and every adjustment. Now I'm going to sit back and admire my fence while I eat my sandwich, and since it's rude to watch somebody eat, why don't you go watch this? While we're on the subject of routers, I thought I'd show you my solution for a high-quality router plate without the high price.
A router plate is one of the most important parts of any table setup. It has to be thin enough to allow the router's collet to extend above the table, but stiff enough that it won't sag. But it must absolutely remain perfectly flat no matter what the humidity is. Commercial versions are made from everything from cast iron to aluminum and various types of synthetic materials.
I've used this black synthetic router plate for a long time, and I've really liked it. In fact, it's one of the ones I put in these router tables that I'm building now. Now, I went to look for a new one, and I was appalled at the price. It was like $60 for this thing. Anyway, I had another stop to make that day at one of those stores that sells kitchen stuff. So while I'm wandering around the store trying to get enough sausage samples so I don't have to pay for lunch, I come across this little baby. It's called a trivet, which I believe is French for something you put hot pans on. Anyway, you know what it's made out of? Corinthian solid surf countertops, 100% acrylic. This is the exact same stuff that those expensive acrylic router plates are made out of. And guess how much it cost me? It's like $7 on sale. So, I'm going to drill a hole in the center. Maybe use a couple of Forstner bits so that I can get a rabbet, the right size to fit some of those generic rings that you can get. And I'm going to save about $50. And think, I've got sausage to thank for this.
Find everybody's favorite fat little woodworker on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, and read his hilarious weekly woodworking blog at stumpynubs.com.
So, the router tables are all but done. Now, remember, these are prototypes, so, I use what wood I had around. There's a lot of particle board from the big particle board build-off that's getting close to being wrapped up, actually. So, the fit and finish might not be as great as yours would be if you made it out of particle board, but I'm going to use them just like this, and they're going to work great for me. Anyway, I'm pretty happy with them, and, well, here's the lowdown on the details.
Because it's largely hidden inside, the router lift isn't the most obvious feature, but what it lacks in glamour, it makes up for in convenience. The lead screw drive allows for the micro height adjustments without reaching under the table, and the ease of the bit changes can't be beat. Lower dust collection keeps the tracking mechanism free from dust, and a pair of set screws reduces the movement that homemade lifts are often plagued with. The compact table's design makes it perfect for a small shop that lacks the space for a large machine. But even large shops will appreciate it as a secondary table that can be pulled off the shelf when a project demands multiple setups. Bit storage, lift, miter slot, and a fully featured fence allow it to do more than keep pace with most of the larger tables. The larger unit sliding table is one feature that will find countless uses. Routing the ends of the rails for frame and panel doors, cutting tenon safely and accurately, it's like a built-in coping sled, but the real benefits are seen when combined with its innovative new fence.
As I was making the fence with the Incra positioning jig, I started thinking that this has the same teeth as those expensive and really accurate Incra LS joinery systems. So why couldn't I do some of the same stuff that they can do with those more expensive jigs? You see, because those teeth allow for such accurate positioning that you can cut box joints and through dovetails, stuff like that, without a special tool. You can mount the fence on the sliding table and replace the face with a homemade 90-degree jig. Then, by using the sliding motion of the table, along with the precise scale on the side of the fence, your joint spacing is quick and accurate without test cuts or complicated setups. If I want 3/8 fingers, all I do is I move that scale 6/8, twice the distance. The positioner forces it into absolute accuracy, much better than my eyes will. And the result are dovetails or box joints that are nice and tightly fitting. Ideally, this sucker is suited to smaller projects, like boxes and things like that. Is it as good as the expensive commercially made Incra system? No. You could never make a wooden jig as good as these precisioned, machined, and extruded aluminum ones. But for most shops with small budgets, this is a great option. The larger table, which has the router lift, the sliding table, the upper and lower dust collection, and the Incra jig fence, and the joinery attachment, cost me like $50 in hardware and a little bit of plywood. In order to buy a commercial version that would have all of these features, you're talking over $2,000. I don't know if it's $2,000 better. I don't know. I guess it's up to you, but I think this has been worth the build for me.
Want to impress your friends? Then just go to stumpynubs.com and click on the tab that says Stumpy Store. There you'll find plans for many of the projects you see on Blue Collar Woodworking, and you can help support the show.
It's been another long day at the Stumpy Nubs workshop, but we've learned a few things. First of all, we've learned that it only takes about 6 weeks and 3 20-minute episodes to make a router table, so why would you ever want to buy one? And we've learned that if you're willing to put some thought into it, a bit of tinkering and some trial and error, there's little you can't do. I have this saying that I run my workshop by. If jigs and tools were chairs and stools, we'd always have a place to sit. Now you may think that that's mostly nonsense, and you're right. A good amount of what I say is nonsense. But there is a grain of truth hidden within. You see, Sometimes the most enjoyable time spent in the workshop is that spent making jigs and tools we need to make the projects that we want. Charles Neal calls it fixin' to make something. That guy has spent days fixin' to make a piece of furniture before he ever mills the first piece of lumber. Around here, we make lots of stuff, but we almost always end up making some kind of homemade machine or jig or tool or something before we start. I'll have spent nearly 2 months making a new router table before I ever get to use it for the project I designed it for in the first place. Do you think that bothers me? Has it been a waste of my time? No. I've enjoyed every minute of it, and I hope you've enjoyed at least a few parts. Of course, it's time for Blue Collar Woodworking to move on to new big ideas. Want to know what the next one is? I'll give you a hint. That's right. We're going to do an episode on dust collection. In fact, we're going to do a series of 3 episodes on dust collection. And we might check out the results of that big particle board build-off where I whooped the Bunyan brothers' butts. In the meantime, you should just sit back and have yourself a cold one, because you've earned it, my friend. What did I tell you about putting paint thinner in my cold ones?